Today, we are diving into a speech that has fascinated, challenged, and frankly, completely puzzled people for about 2,000 years. It's a text that lays out this revolutionary moral framework, a whole new way of thinking about what it even means to be a good person.
So, let me ask you something. What do you think is the single most influential speech in all of human history? I mean, there are some pretty solid contenders, right? But the one we're unpacking today, the Sermon on the Mount, is pretty much always on that short list.
All right, so let's get right into it. First things first, we got to understand what this sermon actually is and why it's seen as so foundational to so much of the world's thinking.
Now, here's the thing you have to get about the Sermon on the Mount. It's not just a random collection of fortune cookie sayings. The way scholars and theologians look at it, it's this incredibly structured, comprehensive charter, almost like a spiritual constitution for a whole new way of life. It's basically laying out the core values for a kingdom that plays by a completely different set of rules than the rest of the world.
So how does this whole thing start? It kicks off with a famous series of statements called the Beatitudes. You've probably heard them. Each one starts with the word blessed, and they lay out this kind of upside-down mindset you need for this new life.
And right out of the gate, you get something that feels completely backward. Blessed are the poor in spirit. What on earth does that even mean?
And this is absolutely crucial to understand. This has nothing to do with how much money is in your bank account. Being poor in spirit is all about this profound sense of inner humility. It's about recognizing that, spiritually speaking, you're bankrupt and you're completely dependent on a higher power. It's the exact opposite of being arrogant or thinking you've got it all figured out.
Okay, and then we get this next one, which, let's be honest, is so easy to misunderstand. Blessed are the meek. We hear meek and we immediately think doormat or pushover, but that's not the idea here at all.
This is a perfect example of how the sermon just redefines common virtues. In this context, meekness is actually power that's under control. Think of it as the strength to be gentle, the strength to not lash out when you're provoked. It's enduring an insult without that burning need for revenge. So, you see? It's not weakness. It's a kind of powerful self-control.
Okay, now, this is where things start to get really wild. This is where we see how the sermon takes moral laws that already existed and just cranks them up to a whole new internal level.
This verse is the key. Jesus says, hey, I'm not here to throw out the old rules. He's here to fulfill them. And what fulfill means here is to bring the law to its deepest, truest meaning, to show everyone the real purpose that was behind the command all along. And right there, that's the great shift. The whole game changes. It's no longer just about whether you did the forbidden thing or not. The new standard is all about what's going on inside, your thoughts, your motives, the entire landscape of your heart. And to make sure everyone gets it, the sermon lays out some incredibly powerful, really stark examples. He starts with a big one, a law everybody knew, right? It's one of the 10 Commandments. You shall not murder. Seems pretty straightforward. But then, look at this. The old standard was just about the physical act. The new standard goes so much deeper. It targets the source of the violence inside you, the unjustified anger, the insults, the contempt you feel that makes another person seem less than human in your own mind.
And here's the punchline. This new teaching basically says that the simmering anger, that contempt in your heart, it comes from the exact same poisonous root as the act of murder itself, and it's subject to the same judgment. I mean, that is an unbelievably high standard.
Okay, next example. He moves on to another one of the big laws about personal behavior. And again, it's a rule that seems to be all about a specific physical action.
And you guessed it, we see the exact same shift. The old standard was about what you did in public or in private. The new standard drills down into the most private place of all, your thoughts, your internal desire.
I mean, that statement is just stunning in its intensity, isn't it? It's claiming the moral crime doesn't just happen in the bedroom, it happens in the blink of an eye, inside your mind. The sermon is teaching that real, true integrity isn't just about what you do, it's about what you want to do.
So this relentless focus on our inner life, on the state of our hearts, it's all building to a climax. And it leads to what is, without a doubt, the most demanding, the most radical teaching in the entire speech. And there it is. This is the ultimate expression of that internal first morality. It goes way beyond just, not hurting your enemies. It actually commands an active, positive love for them. And this isn't about some warm, fuzzy feeling.
It's about a choice, a decision to bless them, to do good for them, and to pray for the very people who wish you harm.
So after laying out this impossibly high moral vision, the sermon wraps up with this one final knockout command: be perfect. Seriously? After all that, how could anyone possibly be perfect? What does that even mean?
Well, the way it's interpreted, perfect here doesn't mean being flawless or never ever messing up. It's pointing toward a kind of spiritual maturity or completeness. And the definition of that maturity is right there. It's the ability to love people impartially, to extend goodwill to everyone, whether they deserve it or not. Kind of like how God gives sunshine and rain to both good people and evil people without picking and choosing.
And that kind of leaves us with a final question to chew on. In our world, which is so often focused on what things look like on the outside, what do we do with a moral code that says the most important thing is our hidden internal world, a code that judges our thoughts, not just our actions? Now that is something we're thinking about.